What's up guys, Specstar here today with my first battle of LD, and I'm going up here against Jeremy, and he has got himself a team consisting of Mega Venusaur, Vaporeon, Skarmory, Azelf, Komodo, and Landorus Therian, which is a good mix of both bulk and offense. You got one half of the side that's all bulk and one side that's all offense, so I needed to have both breakers and cleaners, mons that could hit the offensive mons hard and fast, and mons that could smash through the bulk. So I'm gonna switch over here to my team, and this is what I brought. Starting off, I've got a Zygarde, which is banded. Banded just pretty good for punching through his fat. 1,000 arrows pretty much to KOs anything except for Mega Venusaur, which I can wear down with rocks, and it's a very limited amount of synthesis, so that's something to keep in mind. Extreme speed lets me hit some of his more offensive faster mons like Komodo after it sets up, Ribombee, Azelf, stuff like that. Next up here, I've got Blacephalon, and Blacephalon is modest specs, which really punches through all of his bulk except for his Incineroar. Incineroar is really the best answer he has to this thing. I'm just speedy enough to outpace Landorus Therian, which was the most important thing for me to outspeed with this thing. The only mons he had that were faster were Ribombee and Azelf, so that's about what I needed. I've got Psychic on this thing. It hits Mega Venusaur, and it hits Komodo, which if it's bulletproof can wall my other two stabs. Trick allows me to deal with Vaporeon if it's specially defensive, because if it's specially defensive, that's the one really good answer he might have to this Pokemon, aside from Incineroar, which I can wear down a lot easier than I can wear down Vaporeon. Next up here, I've got Cobalion with a little bit of an interesting set here. Celium Z just kind of lets me take a chunk out of something. This Pokemon can kind of wear his team down with Stealth Rock and Toxic. Volt Switch, just a nice little pivot move out there, and Flash Cannon is just kind of like a blanket move to hit the rest of his team pretty well. Things like Landorus Therian, Mega Venusaur were some of the mons I was thinking about. Also Ribombee, because I may very well lead off with this Pokemon, and if he tries to Quiver Dance up, Flash Cannon's going to be doing a lot to it, and definitely putting in range of E-Speed comfortably, or even just bopping the thing if I hit it at the right time. Next up here, I've got Blastoise, and this is Rocky Helmet. The reason it's Rocky Helmet is to help me wear down Incineroar to set up a win condition for Blacephalon, which I was very much thinking about for this game. I've got Physically Defensive, just makes it a better answer to things like Landorus and of course Incineroar. Ice Beam just kind of lets me hit things. I didn't want to be set up fodder for Komodo, and that's why I went to Ice Beam. I initially thought about having Aqua Jet to kind of pick off weaken things, but I thought it would be better to have Ice Beam so Komodo can't sub up on this thing, which is important for me because it needs to be behind a sub and drummed up to really do damage. Otherwise, the Zygarde can kind of revenge it. Now next up here, I've got my Electros, and it's named Crash Bandicoot because if you don't know, Pokemon kind of copied the name Electric from a Mutant and Crash. And this thing is Assault Vest, max special defense. It has HP Ice, which kind of helps me deal with things like, or it helps me deal with Landorus in particular. Acid Spray just kind of helps me wear down things like Venusaur. Super Fang, just make sure he doesn't switch in on this too comfortably with his bulk. And Volt Switch is just that nice electric stab to get me the hell out. And lastly, we've got Musharna. Musharna helps me deal with Mega Venusaur, Komodo, things like that. My team's a little bit bulkier, well, at least part of it is, and his team's a little bit bulkier. So Heal Belt kind of helps me stay durable with my bulky mons throughout the pace of this game. Especially nice to have with Synchronize. I've got Psychic, which hits Komodo. This is my primary answer to that thing. Baton Pass just gets me that slow pivot out so I can keep pressure on. I can get Blacephalon in, which is a priority for me. Physically Defensive, and I'll explain Baton Pass. Moonlight, of course, just healing the hell up. Now let's switch back to the replay here. And I'll get my replay scene. Now I just want to lead off with Cobalion. It's a pretty good lead for me. Nothing he can send out can really make it too bad for me. I just kind of want to get up my rocks. Kamo, I guess, would be the worst case scenario for me. So I will lead off with it. He'll lead off with Landorus Therian, and I'm comfortable to just get my rocks up here. I'll get a look at what he's kind of thinking about. If he does attack me with Landorus, I'll get intel on what kind of set he is. And he does have to worry about the potential me being HP Ice, because I do take an Earthquake with this Pokemon. Cobalion is one bulky boy. So I'm just going to go right for my Stealth Rocks as he goes out into his Skarmory. I'm now going to Volt Switch out, which just kind of allows me to bring in Blacephalon, as he can either get up his own rocks, defog mine away, or roost, something like that. He will defog. Now this turn here, I have to think about what I want to do, because he could go into Vaporeon, or he could go into Kamo. And this is a good turn where I think I just want to be patient, and I want to attack this thing, and I want to learn what his initial to this Pokemon is, because this Pokemon ultimately is what I've planned out as my win condition, and me being able to see the way he intends to deal with it makes it easier for me to prepare the win condition down the road in this game. So I'm just going to click Shadow Ball, which covers Vaporeon. If he does go into Kamo, I would go into Musharna, so that's what I'm thinking there. He does go into Vaporeon, and I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball. I'll drop his Special Defense, which is unfortunate, but at this point, now that he's got a Special Defense drop, I know he's going to switch out, and my thought process is that he would definitely switch out into Kamo here. I give Kamo no reason to be soundproof, so I'm fairly certain it would be bulletproof and immune to my Shadow Ball. He now knows that I'm Specs and I'm locked into this. I'm not sure if he knows if I'm Modest at this point, because his set isn't max physically defensive with no special defense, and it's not max specially defensive with no physical defense. So he knows what I am. I don't fully know what he is. I just know that he has some special defense, not none, and not full. So here I'm going to go into Musharna, because I'm fairly certain he would go into Kamo now that he knows I'm locked into Shadow Ball. So I will go into my Musharna, and he will here go into his Kamo, I believe. He does go into that, and I just want to click Psychic here, because if I could have went for Baton Pass, but if I did and he predicts me to switch out or make a play, because I did just make the double in a Musharna, or the switch in a Musharna predicting him to switch out. If he does predict me and I do switch out, then I'm in a bad position. So I'm going to make the safer play and just click my Psychic. He'll go into Vaporeon here. I expect him to just wish up, so I'm going to Baton Pass out safely. I'll see his turn, and I will go out into my... What did I go out into? I went into my Cobalion, right. Cobalion just lets me re-establish my rocks, and also I do really want a Toxic Vaporeon. I'll know his full moveset if he shows to be Heal Bell, and I don't know if he would be in this. So I will just go for my Toxic on it. I think Ice Beam is a very high possibility, but I am going to miss my Toxic, which is unfortunate, but that's Pokemon. I did drop his Special Defense. So he's going to go into Venusaur, and so I just Volt Switch out. I didn't want to let my Cobalion go down right yet. So I will go into my Blacephalon on his Venusaur. This time I'm going to click Trick, and that's because I thought that Vaporeon would be switching again. Vaporeon can kind of see if I'm locked into Shadow Ball, and he could go into Kamo. Also, he may think that since I know Kamo is bulletproof, that I might get over predicting and predict Kamo to come in. So I'm actually just going to go for Trick. His team, aside from Vaporeon, there isn't much bulk for Blacephalon. So if I get this thing handicapped by giving it my choice specs, then I know that the thing isn't... He won't have much for my Blacephalon, and I don't need to worry about having my special attack boosted by my item. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go right for a Trick. Fortunately, he does go into Vaporeon. That thing is now a Specs threat. And I'm going to go into my Eelektross as he locks in his Scald here. Still doing nothing even with Specs, because Eel is just a monster. I'm going to go ahead and Volt Switch out. I wasn't worried about him going into Landers, because if he did, I had the HP Ice. I decide here that I want to go into Cobalion, and the reason is I want to keep pressure on this thing to get low. I could have went into Blastoise and played around with Toxic and letting the thing get burned, or slowly tried to wear it down in a way where I'd let him get in something that would keep offensive pressure on me. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep pressure up. So I was going to go Cobalion. If he was gonna stay in with this thing and a Volt Switch, I would have went into Musharna. I would have healed up, belled up, and then baton passed back into this thing to make sure that I continued to keep pressure on him and didn't give him anything that he could capitalize on too much. So I'll Volt Switch, he'll go into Landorus, and he's going to intimidate me, of course, but I'm fully special, so that doesn't matter. He's going to go ahead and get his leftovers there, which is pretty good information. I now know that he's not Scarf and he's not Z, which were the two sets I actually thought were most likely. I was particularly thinking Z would be most likely, something like Sky Strike, but it does show to be leftovers, so I'm going to get more intel on what this thing is and just throw off my Z Flash Cannon. If he wants to get off rocks, then this thing may very well be to a KO depending on what his set looks like. I know I'm going to be faster than him, and that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep pressure on, attack the Landorus, get off good damage on it, which is important for things like Zygarde and Blacephalon, which are my win conditions later. He's going to Earthquake and show to be max HP on this thing, or some kind of specially defense invested variant, but most likely max HP. I'm now going to bring in, I'm getting ahead of myself there, or behind, whatever. He's going to take me out. I'm going to bring in my Blacephalon here because it's the Pokemon that puts the most pressure on his team. I didn't want to let him get out of a KO here. I didn't want to let him skip out on that. So I'll bring in my Blacephalon. I'm just going to click Flamethrower. If he goes into Komodo, I will know based on Flamethrower's damage if my Psychic next will be able to KO it, but it may well be able to. Flamethrower just my safest play here. It will definitely take out his Landorus based on the damage Cobalion Z move did. I know it cannot survive this, so I'm just going to go for my Flamethrower. He goes into Vaporeon, which is fine with me because that thing is now in range of my Shadow Ball. And I will click my Shadow Ball here, take down the Vaporeon. I'll get my special attack boost on Blacephalon, which is now looking like a very big threat for him. He's going to go into Komodo, and without hesitation, I'm just going to click my Psychic, take the thing down, and it is looking good right now at 5-4. Blacephalon's now got a nasty plot. He goes into Venusaur now, which tells me that his Azelf is not knockoff, so I'm now comfortable in just Blacephalon's in now. It's in. Not switching it out until it drops. So I'm going to click Psychic on the Venusaur, and this thing is going to go down very comfortably. Blacephalon's now at +3. Show me who's next. He's going to bring in Azelf. Because he didn't bring it in earlier, I know it's not knockoff, so I'm just going to stay in and click Shadow Ball. That thing's down. Who next? He's going to go ahead and bring in his Landorus Therian here. I'm getting a little bit ahead of it. He's going to bring out his Landorus now, and I'm just going to take this thing out with a Flamethrower. Blacephalon now almost all the way full special attack here as he brings in Skarmory, which will be Blacephalon's 6 KO in 6 turns. And I'm going to win this battle 5-0 thanks to Blacephalon. Now, a new thing I want to do is after battle, if I remember, which I'm not always good for, is I want to kind of do a little recap on the game, talk about which Pokemon were the most valuable in this game and the statistics. So for this game, it's a lot more cut and dry because I only had Cobalion get a death, and only Blacephalon got a kill. Blacephalon's going to wind up with 6 KOs and no deaths, and everything else aside from Cobalion is going to have 0 KOs and 0 deaths. Blacephalon will be the clear, far and away MVP of this game, and we're going to be fortunate enough to move on to 1-0 and +5, which is a great start for us, and a great start for Blacephalon, which is looking like it's going to be a threat this season. Knock on wood, literally knocking on wood. So that's going to be it for this battle. And I do want to thank you guys for watching. This is a little bit longer of a video than I normally do, if I'm not mistaken, just by the feel of it. maybe not that much longer, but I put a little bit more into the analysis, and the battle was kind of shorter. I probably will continue to do that in the future, and I hope you guys enjoy that. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a good night.